They called for help, and the Deathworlders Armada arrived instead of their allies. The alarm cut through New Haven Colony like a sharp blade. Governor Patricia Hughes looked up from her desk as the red warning light flashed in the dim office. The sound was not a test. After 5 years of running the colony, she knew the difference between a drill and real danger. Patricia moved to the communications center with fast steps. Around her, the normal busy work of a growing colony stopped. Workers looked at each other with worry in their eyes. The colony had been peaceful and quiet for so long that most people had forgotten what fear felt like. The communications room was already full. Colonel Marcus Chun stood at the main control panel, his face tight with concern. He was the military commander for the colony, though New Haven had never needed much military force. A few old ships, some defensive walls, and a hope that danger would never find them here. "What do we have?" Patricia asked, her voice steady even though her heart was moving fast. Marcus did not look away from the screen. "Multiple contacts. Big ones. They just came out of jump space 10,000 kilometers away. Not broadcasting any signals. Not responding to our hails." Patricia's stomach went cold. She looked at the radar display. 10 red dots. Large contacts. Military signatures. Whatever they were moving toward the colony with clear purpose. "Can you identify them?" she asked. "Running the scan now, but Governor, they are not showing any known markers. They are not coalition ships. Not any type we have on record." The door burst open and Dr. Henry Wilson rushed in. He was the science officer for the colony, a thin man who wore worry badly. "Patricia, we are getting a lot of radiation from those ships. High-energy weapon signatures. Whatever they are armed for war." Patricia took a breath. She had been trained for many things as a governor. She knew how to manage crops, resolve conflicts between colonists, and plan for the future. No training had prepared her for this moment. "Get me to the broadcast station," Patricia commanded, "and start the evacuation protocols now. I want everyone in the underground shelters within 30 minutes." Marcus moved fast. He gave the orders through the communication system, and Patricia heard the alarm change. Not the first alarm anymore, but the full evacuation alarm. The piercing sound that meant run. That meant danger was coming. The broadcast station was 3 blocks away. Patricia moved through the streets of New Haven and saw something that broke her heart. Families leaving their homes with only what they could carry. Children asking questions their parents could not answer. Old people moving as fast as their bodies would allow. This colony was her responsibility. These people were her responsibility. She had brought them here with promises of a new life, safety, peace, room, to grow and build something new away from the politics of the Galactic Coalition, and now something was coming to take it away. The broadcast station was a simple concrete building. Inside, the operators were ready. Patricia sat in the main chair and put on the communication headset. Her hands were steady, even though inside she was screaming. "Open all channels," she said. "Coalition standard frequencies and everything else we have." The operators nodded. One of them spoke. "Open and ready, Governor." Patricia took one more breath. Then she spoke words she never thought she would have to say. "This is Governor Patricia Hughes of New Haven Colony. We are a human settlement of 4,000 souls. We are peaceful. We are not a military threat. If you are receiving this transmission, we ask for peace. We ask for your mercy." She paused. The words felt wrong, begging, but she would beg. She would do anything to save the people under her care. "If you are with the Galactic Coalition, please respond. We have not broken any laws. We are simply here to build a new home, to live in peace. We request immediate military support." She waited. Nothing but static and the sound of her own breathing. This is an open call to any coalition members. New Haven Colony is under threat. We require defense assistance immediately. More silence. Patricia felt the cold truth settling into her bones. The coalition would not come. They were too far away. Or they would not think the effort was worth it. A human colony, after all. Easy to lose. Easy to replace. She looked at Marcus, who was standing beside her. His face was hard and cold. She could see the same thought in his eyes. The coalition had abandoned them. Patricia sat back in the chair. She looked at the list of human ships known to operate in this region. Most of them were science vessels, traders, explorers. None of them could fight a military battle. But there was one name on the list that made her pause. A name she had heard from an old human ambassador years ago. A name whispered about in coalition circles as dangerous and wild. The Deathworlders. Marcus saw her looking at the name. "No," he said. "We cannot call them. Why not?" Patricia asked. "Because the coalition told us they are unstable, dangerous. They do not follow the rules of civilized space. We cannot trust them." Patricia looked back at the radar. The 10 ships were still coming, getting closer. Closer. She thought about the human ambassador. She remembered a conversation about honor, about what people do when someone calls out for help. The ambassador had said that humans understood something deep and true. When your people need you, you answer. Not for politics, not for profit, because they need you. Patricia's hands moved before her mind could stop them. She cleared the open channels and opened a new one. An old frequency. One that the coalition said no one used anymore. One that was marked as emergency only. "This is Governor Patricia Hughes of New Haven Colony on Earth. We are a human settlement. We are in danger. Unknown military force approaching. We are calling for help. If there are humans in this sector, if the Earth Armada is listening, we are calling for help. Please respond. We are your people. Please come." She repeated the message 3 times. Each time, her voice grew stronger. Then she waited. The radar showed the enemy ships were 9,000 kilometers away now. 8,000. They had perhaps 1 hour before the bombardment would begin. 1 hour before everything was lost. Marcus looked at her with something like anger in his eyes. "You just called for people the coalition says are illegal to contact." Patricia kept her eyes on the radar screen. "I called for help. From people who understand what it means to protect their own. If the ambassador was right, if there is even one human ship close enough to hear this, they will come." The silence in the broadcast station was thick and heavy. The operators looked at each other, uncertain. Marcus stood with his arms crossed. The enemy ships were 7,000 kilometers away. And then something happened. The communication panel lit up with a response. A human voice, strong and clear and full of purpose. "New Haven Colony, this is the Earth Defense Fleet. We hear you. We acknowledge. Help is coming. Armada ships in your sector are responding now. Stand strong. You are not alone." Patricia felt tears come to her eyes. Marcus's hard expression cracked. Around them, the operators made sounds of relief. The voice on the radio came again. "All units, this is Admiral Kevin Cross. Human colony under attack. Full combat speed to Kepler 452b. This is not a drill. Repeat, this is not a drill. These are our people. We respond." The radar showed new contacts appearing. Human contacts. Ships jumping in from hyperspace. 1, 2, 5, 10. The human armada was coming. The enemy ships on the screen slowed their approach. They had seen the radar signals too. They had seen what was coming. Patricia sat back in her chair and whispered a prayer of thanks to whatever god might be listening. The Deathworlders were coming. The humans were coming. New Haven would not fall today. They called for help, and the Deathworlders Armada arrived instead of their allies. Admiral Kevin Cross stood on the command deck of the Earth Defense Fleet flagship, watching the stars. The bridge was quiet, except for the soft sounds of equipment running. This was his favorite time of day, when most of the crew was asleep and he could think without interruption. The fleet was massive. 20 large warships, 40 smaller combat vessels, supply ships, repair vessels, and communication stations. Hidden in the outer reaches of known space, far from the Coalition's main trade routes. The Deathworlders had been patient, watching, waiting for the moment when they would be needed. Kevin's face was hard and lined with years of command. He had been flying ships since he was young, back when Earth was still trying to join the Galactic Coalition as equals. He remembered the first missions, the rejection, the slow realization that the Coalition did not see humans as real partners. They saw them as inferior, replaceable. The communication officer, Lieutenant Grace Wallace, turned from her station. She was young and sharp, with the quick reflexes that came from Earth stock, not the soft, long-lived species that filled the Coalition. Humans were different, stronger, harder, born from a world that wanted to kill you every single day. "Admiral, we are receiving a transmission on the old Earth frequency," Grace said. "It is not Coalition, not commercial. It is a direct call for help." Kevin turned away from the window. "Put it through." The voice that came was a woman's, steady but urgent. Patricia Hughes, claiming to be the governor of New Haven Colony. She described an attack. Unknown ships. Military force. She asked for help from humans. From the Deathworlders. Kevin listened to the message 3 times. Each time, it became clearer. A human colony. His people. Under attack. Alone. He did not think. He did not hesitate. He simply began the move. "General quarters," he said, his voice cutting through the bridge like a weapon. "All ships. This is not a drill. Prepare for combat. Set course for Kepler 452b. Maximum speed." The bridge exploded into action. Alarms sounded across the ship. Officers rushed to their stations. The sleeping crew woke and ran to their positions. Kevin's voice came over the main communication system, reaching every ship in the fleet. "All units, this is Admiral Kevin Cross. We have received a distress call from a human colony under military attack. New Haven Colony requires immediate defense. The Armada responds now. I want full combat readiness in 15 minutes. All ships, acknowledge." The responses came back fast. Ship after ship confirmed. The Deathworlders were ready. They had always been ready. Kevin moved to the navigation station. "What is our travel time to Kepler 452b? The navigation officer, a man named Robert Davis, worked the calculations. "At maximum combat speed, we can be there in 4 hours, sir. The enemy has 12 hours if they maintain current speed. We can intercept before they reach the colony." Kevin nodded. 4 hours. The colony had 4 hours of safety from the moment they sent the message. It was not much time, but the Armada would be there. Throughout the fleet, things moved with the purpose of warriors who had trained for years for this exact moment. The ships powered up their jump drives. Weapons were checked and loaded. All systems prepared for combat. In the engine rooms, the engineers pushed the ships to their limits. The Deathworlders did not have the elegant technology of the Coalition species. Human technology was crude by comparison, but it was strong. It was built to work when things went wrong. It was built by a species that understood failure led to death. Kevin returned to his chair in the center of the command deck. He looked at Grace. "Open communication with all ships. Tell them they are authorized to fire on any unknown military vessels. Rules of engagement are simple. Protect the colony. Stop the attack. Show no mercy to those who would harm our people. Grace's fingers moved across the communication panel, sending the orders to every ship in the fleet. The message went out clear and strong. This was not the coalition military. This was not a force that would follow endless rules and procedures. This was the Deathworld Armada, and they were coming from their own. Captain Linda Morris commanded the lead combat vessel, the assault ship Human Valor. She received the orders and smiled. This was what she had been waiting for. This was why humans had come to space. Not to trade, not to make friends with soft alien species, but to protect, to fight. To win dawn, she sent the message to her crew. Battle stations. All hands to combat positions. We are going to save a human colony. Move fast and hit hard. The Human Valor jumped to hyperspace, along with 19 other combat ships. The fleet moved as one, pointed toward Kepler 452b like a fist aimed at an enemy's face. On Earth, the Defense Ministry received the same message. Other fleets began moving. Other ships prepared to respond if needed. The word spread through human space. The colony was under attack, and the Armada was responding. Every human knew what this meant. This was the ancient promise. The promise made when Earth joined the space exploration age. When humans learned they would not be welcome at the table of the coalition. The promise was simple. We protect our own. Admiral Kevin Cross sat in his chair and watched the navigation display. The Armada was racing through hyperspace, moving faster than coalition ships could move. Faster, harder, more dangerous. He thought about the first human colonies that had called for help. Colonies that were abandoned when the coalition decided they were not worth the effort. Colonies that had been lost. He thought about the silent rage of those failures. The determination to never let it happen again. This time would be different. This time, help was coming. Kevin opened a communication channel to all ships. His voice was calm, but underneath it was something harder. The voice of a predator. The voice of a Deathworlder. This is Admiral Kevin Cross to all Armada ships. We are going to combat. We are going to save a human colony. And we are going to show the galaxy what happens when you attack the children of Earth. We have waited. We have prepared. Today, we prove why the coalition should fear us. Today, we show them what we are. Move forward. Prepare for battle. The Deathworlders are coming. The response from the ships was immediate. Not words, but the sound of weapons powering up. The sound of engines pushing to their limits. The sound of a military force ready for war. 4 hours. The Armada would be there in 4 hours. And when they arrived, the galaxy would understand the humans were not soft. They were not peaceful traders or harmless explorers. They were Deathworlders, born from a harsh world, bred for survival, ready to do anything to protect their own. The fleet jumped through hyperspace, racing toward the light, racing toward battle, racing toward the moment when the coalition would learn to fear the name of Earth. They called for help, and the Deathworlders Armada arrived instead of their allies. The colony's defense control center was deep underground, cut into the rock of Kepler 452b. Governor Patricia Hughes stood watching the radar display, tracking the enemy ships. They had slowed down slightly when the human armada responded to the distress call. But they had not stopped. They had not turned away. The ships coming toward New Haven were still dangerous. Still moving. Still a threat. Patricia had been governing for 5 years. She had never seen combat. She had never sent soldiers to their deaths. She had never made decisions that meant life or death for thousands of people. That weight was on her shoulders now, and it was crushing Dot around her. The military officers worked at their stations. Colonel Marcus Chun coordinated with the remaining colony defense forces. They had 3 old ships in orbit. 3. They would do almost nothing against the incoming military force. But they had to try. How long until the human ships arrive? Patricia asked. Marcus checked the calculations. 3 minutes. The Armada dropped out of hyperspace just moments ago. They are already moving to intercept the enemy. 3 minutes. Patricia could feel her heart beating in her throat. 3 minutes until humans she had never met would fight and possibly die to protect her colony. On the orbital display, she could see them now. Human warships, sleek and dark, moving with purpose. They did not move like coalition ships. They moved faster, more aggressive. Like predators. The enemy commander must have seen them too, because a signal came through. It was a military broadcast, demanding response. The unknown ships were calling themselves the Terran Dominion Fleet. They did not belong to the coalition. They belonged to no one. They were raiders, conquerors, slavers, and they were very, very confident that the enemy commander sent a message to the human ships. His translator ran the words through the system so the colony could hear. Human vessel, we are the Terran Dominion. We claim this colony for resources and labor. Stand down. Your resistance is meaningless. We will accept your surrender. Patricia heard the words and felt rage build in her chest. This colony was hers. These people were hers. No one could just claim them like they were items on a shelf. But before she could say anything, a different signal came through. A human voice. Cool. Calm. Deadly. Terran Dominion, this is Admiral Kevin Cross of the Earth Defense Fleet. This colony is under our protection. You will stand down. You will power down your weapons and prepare to surrender. You have 10 seconds to comply. The enemy commander laughed. It was a terrible sound, full of arrogance. Human, we have 4 times your numbers. Our weapons are superior. Your colony cannot be saved. You have wasted your time coming here. Kevin's voice came back. No, we have not wasted our time. But you have wasted yours. All Armada ships fire at will. Take them down. What happened next was nothing Patricia had ever seen before. The human ships moved with incredible speed. They did not line up for slow, careful battles like the coalition military. They moved like living things. Like hunters. The first enemy ship exploded in a flash of white light. Then another. The human weapons were accurate and powerful. They fired with no hesitation. No mercy. This was not a negotiation. This was war. The enemy fleet tried to return fire, but the human ships were faster. They twisted and moved in ways that seemed impossible. Human pilots had faster reactions, sharper instincts. They had been born on a world where being slow meant dying. In the underground control center, Patricia watched it happen on the radar screen. Ship after ship, the enemy forces were cut down. It was terrible and beautiful at the same time. Our defensive system should engage now, Marcus said. He was pale, watching the battle with wide eyes. We can help. Patricia made the decision. Do it. Target any enemy ships that get past the human forces. We are humans too. We will fight. The colony's 3 old ships moved into position. They fired their weapons at the approaching enemy force. The shots were not very strong, but they were brave. The people of New Haven would not hide while others fought for them. Admiral Kevin Cross watched the battle from his command deck. The colony was firing. They were helping. These were true humans, he thought. They did not hide. They did not wait for others to do the work. All units, the colony is engaging, he broadcast. Move in closer. Protect them. Show no mercy. The Armada moved forward like a storm. Human valor. The assault ship got so close to an enemy destroyer that it could have reached out and touched it. The captain, Linda Morris, ordered full weapons fire. The enemy ship broke apart. Another human ship, the Darwin's Edge, took on 3 enemy fighters at once. The human pilot, a young man named Stephen Park, flew with instincts that seemed like magic. He turned hard and sharp, ways that would have broken a softer pilot's body. He fired and hit his targets with perfect accuracy. The battle was ending. The humans had won. In the colony center, Patricia felt tears on her face. The radar showed only 2 enemy ships still fighting, and they were moving away. They were running. The Armada had crushed them. One of those enemy ships fired a desperate shot at a human cruiser. The shot connected, and the human ship took damage. Alarm sounded, but the human crew did not panic. They returned fire. The enemy ship exploded. The last enemy vessel jumped to hyperspace and disappeared. It was running, trying to escape. The human ships could have followed, but Admiral Kevin did not order it. The job was done. The colony was safe. Patricia heard Kevin's voice over the communication system. It was different now. Not the cold, hard voice of war. Just a man, sounding tired and satisfied. New Haven Colony, this is Admiral Kevin Cross. The attack is over. The enemy has fled or been destroyed. You are safe. The Earth Defense Fleet is now in orbit above your position. We are sending medical teams and support vessels. You are no longer alone. Patricia sank into her chair. The weight on her shoulders was still there, but it was different now. It was not the weight of failure. It was the weight of survival. Marcus came to her side. He looked at the radar screen, at the human ships now protecting their colony. You were right, he said quietly. You were right to call them. Patricia did not answer. She was thinking about what it meant. The Armada had come. The Deathworlders had answered. They had dropped everything and come to save people they had never met. This was what humans did. This was what it meant to be human. The first human ship began its descent toward the colony. More would follow. Medical personnel, engineers, soldiers to help with defense. And above them, human warships orbited, keeping watch, making sure that New Haven would never again be alone in the dark. They called for help, and the Deathworlders Armada arrived instead of their allies, the Coalition. Assembly Hall on the neutral world of Tarsus Prime was full of angry voices. Representatives from 50 different species filled the seats. They had been called for an emergency meeting because something had shaken the foundation of galactic peace. Humanity had revealed a military force that no one knew existed. The recordings from Kepler 452b had been broadcast throughout Coalition space. Everyone had seen it. The human warships dropping out of hyperspace. The devastating attack on the Terran Dominion raiders. The speed. The accuracy. The complete and total destruction of an enemy force in minutes. Coalition analysts were still studying the data. What they found was disturbing. The human military was not small. It was not a few ships. Intelligence estimates suggested a fleet of at least 60 combat vessels. Possibly more. Hidden somewhere in the outer regions of Space. Council member Zarvan, a tall species with 3 eyes, stood to speak. His voice was sharp and accusatory. How did this happen? How did we allow humanity to build a military force of this size without detection? This is a failure of our entire intelligence network. Another representative, the Quixel delegate, stood up. We were told the humans were barely capable of maintaining their current colonial network. We were assured they had no real military power. Who gave us this information? The discussion became more heated. Species blamed other species. Protocols were questioned. Someone had been wrong. Someone had failed. Admiral Kevin Cross stood in the observation chamber at the edge of the hall, watching. He was not a member of the council. Humans had never been allowed full membership. But he was here, At Patricia's insistence, to speak to the assembly. Patricia stood beside him, still wearing the simple clothes of a colony governor. But her eyes were hard now. She had seen what happened when the coalition abandoned people. She had learned what the protective instinct of humans meant. The Krell representative, an older being with scales and wisdom written in his face, stood up. He was one of the oldest species in the coalition, and he had seen many changes. I move that we demand answers from the human leadership. Admiral Cross is present. Let him speak. Let us hear what humanity has to say for itself. There was agreement, though reluctant agreement. The doors to the observation chamber opened, and Kevin Cross walked into the assembly hall. The silence was immediate. Many of the representatives had never been this close to a human before. They saw the hardness in his face, the way he moved, the predator beneath the uniform. Kevin did not bow. He did not show respect to the assembly. He simply stood and looked at them. "You want to know how we built this fleet?" he began. "You want to know why we hid it from you? You want to know why we did not tell you the Armada existed?" He paused, letting his eyes move across the assembly. When he spoke again, his voice was low and dangerous. "I will tell you. We built this fleet because we learned something important about the coalition. We learned that promises mean nothing when they are made to humans." The assembly stirred. Angry sounds. Defensive sounds. Kevin continued. Over the past 20 years, 17 human colonies sent distress calls to the coalition. 17 colonies asked for protection. 17 colonies asked for help. You know how many times the coalition responded with military force? He paused for effect. 0. 0 times. You told us the colonies were too far away. You told us it was not cost-effective. You told us the risks were too high. You told us many things. But what you really said was that human lives did not matter to you. That human settlements were acceptable losses. A Zarthan representative stood up angrily. "We cannot respond to every distress call. It is not possible. We must prioritize. We must be logical." "You are logical," Kevin said, his voice cold. "That is exactly the problem. You are logical. Humans are not. Humans are emotional. We care about things that do not make sense. We care about family. We care about people who share our blood. We care about our own, even when it costs us everything." Patricia watched the assembly, seeing how they reacted. They were uncomfortable. They did not understand. The coalition was built on logic and trade and mutual benefit. The idea that humans would build a military force just to protect people they did not know, people they had never met, was foreign to them. Kevin moved closer to the assembly center. New Haven Colony called for help. They did not call you. They called us. Because they understood something true. They understood that we would come. Not because it made logical sense, but because they are our people. He pointed at the assembly. "You have spent so long telling us we are dangerous. You have warned other species to stay away from us. You have called us unstable and unpredictable. Well, you were right. We are dangerous, but not to our own. To those who hurt our own, we are the most dangerous thing in the galaxy." The assembly was silent now. Many representatives looked away from Kevin's hard stare. The Krell representative spoke again. "What do you want, Admiral? What is the purpose of telling us this? To threaten us? To warn us?" Kevin considered the question. "I want you to understand something simple. Humans will protect humans, always. From now on, any attack on a human colony will be met with full military response. Not because it is logical, but because it is what we do. The Armada is not hidden anymore. Everyone now knows we exist, and they know we will respond." He looked at Patricia, then back at the assembly. There was a choice humanity had to make. hide and hope the coalition would eventually protect us or stand on our own. We chose to stand on our own. We built the Armada in secret. We trained. We prepared. And today, we proved it was the right choice. A Quixol representative stood up. You are threatening the coalition. You are saying you will not follow our laws. No, Kevin said. We will follow your laws. We will follow every agreement we have made. But we will also protect our own. Those two things are not in conflict. Unless you want them to be. The assembly went into discussion. The meeting continued for hours. Arguments about human military presence. Questions about treaties. Demands for explanations. But the fundamental truth was already clear to everyone in that hall. Humanity was no longer a junior member of the coalition. They were a military power, an unknown force that had been watching and waiting. And they had proven they would use that power without hesitation. Patricia watched Kevin answer their questions. He was respectful but not submissive. He was honest but not threatening. He was exactly what a strong species should be. After several hours, Council Member Zarvin made a statement. The Coalition acknowledges the human military response to the attack on New Haven Colony. We recognize that the Terran Dominion raiders posed a serious threat. We will adjust our response protocols to include human colonies in our protection network. It was not much, but it was something. It was an admission that they had been wrong. That human colonies mattered. As the assembly began to close, Kevin and Patricia left the chamber. Outside, in the corridors of the coalition station, Patricia spoke quietly. Do you think it will help? Do you think they will actually protect human colonies now? Kevin looked out at the stars visible through the station window. No, he said honestly. But they will think twice before ignoring us. And that is enough. Because we have proven we can protect ourselves. Patricia nodded. She understood. The Armada had not just saved New Haven. It had saved the future of every human colony. It had shown the galaxy what humans would do to protect their own. And that knowledge would echo through the stars for generations to come. They called for help. And the Deathworlders Armada arrived instead of their ally 6. Months had passed since the attack on New Haven. The colony looked different now. The buildings were repaired. The defenses were stronger. And everywhere, the presence of humans could be felt. Human engineers worked alongside colony workers. Human soldiers trained with the local militia. Human ships orbited overhead, watching and protecting. Governor Patricia Hughes stood on the observation deck of the new colony defense station, looking down at the world below. New Haven was more than a colony now. It was a symbol of what humans would do when their people needed protection. Captain Marcus Hayes stood beside her. He was the commander of the new human garrison stationed at New Haven. He had been a military officer for 15 years, and he had never been so proud to wear the uniform. The transport ship arrives tomorrow, Marcus said. Another 300 people. Volunteers from Earth who want to settle here. They see New Haven as the safest place in human space now. Patricia smiled. 6 months ago, New Haven had been a dying colony, losing people to other settlements. Now it was growing. People wanted to come here. People trusted that they would be protected. How are the young people from the colony doing? She asked. The ones who volunteered for the military program? Marcus's face showed his pride. Excellent. 23 young people from New Haven are now in the Earth Defense Academy. They will come back as soldiers, protectors. They will stand on the walls that protect their home. This was important to Patricia. The colony was not just being defended. It was becoming part of something larger. The younger generation was learning that they were part of humanity's great task. To protect, to survive, to stand against the darkness. She looked at the star system, thinking about all the other human colonies out there, all the settlements on distant worlds, all the families who had felt alone and abandoned. Now they knew. They knew they were not alone. They knew that if they called, the Armada would answer. They knew that being human meant something. It meant you belonged to a family that would cross the stars to save you. Admiral Kevin Cross stood in the main hall of the Coalition station, preparing to give a speech. The assembly had gathered again, this time not for conflict, but for understanding. Representatives from Coalition species surrounded him. The Crow, the Quixel, the Zarthan. All of them wanted to hear from the humans. Kevin looked at the gathered assembly and began to speak. Thank you for asking me to address you. 6 months ago, we met in conflict and disagreement. Today, I want to tell you about what we have learned since that time. He paused, organizing his thoughts. The Coalition was built on logic, on mutual benefit, on trade and advancement. These are good things, necessary things. But humanity teaches something different. Humanity teaches that there are bonds that go beyond logic. Bonds of family, bonds of blood, bonds that make us willing to sacrifice everything. A Quixel representative raised a hand. Are you saying humans are superior to other species? No, Kevin said. I am saying we are different. You are logical. You make decisions based on cost and benefit. That is not wrong. But humanity is not wired that way. When our people need us, we respond. Not because we calculated the cost. We respond because it is who we are. He looked across the assembly. Some of you may have feared the revelation of the Armada. You may have thought humans were a threat to peace. But I tell you this, the Armada exists for one purpose: to protect, to ensure that no human child is abandoned. No human colony is left alone to die. The Krell representative, the one who had shown understanding before, stood up. Admiral Cross, what do you ask of the Coalition now? Kevin considered the question carefully. I ask for understanding. I ask that you recognize that humans will always defend their own. I ask that you include us in your defensive network, not because we need you, but because together we are stronger. I ask that you accept that we are different, and that difference is not a threat. It is a strength. He continued, his voice carrying weight and authority. The Armada will not threaten the Coalition. We will not expand through conquest. We will not dominate or enslave. We will do one thing. We will protect our people, our colonies, our family. Stand beside us, and we will stand beside you. Threaten our people, and you will learn why we are called Deathworlders. The assembly was silent for a long moment. Then, slowly, the Krell representative began to applaud. Other representatives joined in. Not all of them, but many. The understanding was growing. After the assembly, Kevin stood with Patricia and Marcus Hayes in a private chamber. Patricia had come from New Haven to hear the speech. She had wanted to see how the Coalition responded. Do you think it will hold? She asked Kevin. Will they really accept us now? Kevin looked tired but satisfied. Some will. Some will always be afraid. But that is acceptable. Fear is respect. And respect is what we need. Marcus Hayes spoke quietly. There are 42 other human colonies out there. 42 settlements. Do you have ships enough to protect them all? Not yet, Kevin admitted. But we will. We are building more ships. Recruiting more soldiers. The humans of Earth are answering the call. They understand now. The Armada is not just a military force. It is a promise. A covenant that says we are human and we protect our own. A week later, Patricia stood in a gathering hall on New Haven, watching the young volunteers who had been accepted into the military academy. 23 young men and women, excited and proud. Wearing the uniform of the Earth Defense Force for the first time, she addressed them, her voice strong and clear. You have chosen to become soldiers. You have chosen to stand on the walls of human space. You have chosen to be part of something greater than yourself. I want you to understand what that means. It means you are part of a family. A human family that spans the stars. A family that does not abandon its own. She looked at each face, seeing the determination and the fear mixed together. Your parents grew up thinking they were alone out here, thinking that no one would come if danger arrived. You will be different. You will be the ones who answer the call. You will be the ones who stand between danger and innocence. And you will know every single day that you are not doing this because you were ordered to. You are doing this because it is what humans do. After the ceremony, Patricia walked through the colony with Marcus. The sun was setting, painting the sky in colors of gold and red. The buildings of New Haven were lit with evening light. Smoke rose from homes where families were cooking dinner. Children played in the streets, laughing and free, safe. I was afraid, Patricia told Marcus quietly. When I first saw those ships coming, I thought everything was lost. I thought we would all die. But you called for help, Marcus said. You had faith. I had something, Patricia agreed. Maybe faith. Maybe just a memory of a conversation about what it means to be human. About honor and standing by people who need you. She looked up at the sky, where the Armada ships orbited, keeping watch. That was the greatest gift anyone has ever given me. They came. They answered a call from people they had never met. Because we are human. Because we are their family. In the distance, a human ship descended through the atmosphere. It was bringing supplies. Bringing news from other human colonies. Bringing letters from families on Earth. Bringing the connection that had been missing before. Marcus looked at Patricia. Do you think this will last? This unity? This willingness to protect our own? Patricia thought about the Armada. About Admiral Kevin Cross standing before the coalition. About young humans taking up arms to protect their homes. About families choosing to come to New Haven because they believed they would be safe. Yes, she said. It will last. Because it is not something we decided yesterday. It is something deep in what we are. Something that was always there. We just finally brought it to light. The stars were appearing in the sky above them. Each star held a human colony. Each star had families who had felt afraid and alone. But now they knew. Now they understood. They were not alone. They would never be alone again, because when they called for help, the Armada would come. The humans would answer. The Deathworlders would protect their own. And that promise, that covenant between humans, would light the darkness of space forever. The end.